Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Nicole Testa Boston. I'm the Deputy Director here at Fiatech, and I just want to thank and welcome all of you on this kind of Thanksgiving Day week for those of you in the States for joining us. Before we get started and I introduce our speaker today, I wanted to just go over quickly how to use the GoToMeeting toolbar and toolkit. If this is the first time you've used it, you'll notice that's unique to you. You can click that orange arrow at the top at any time, and it'll minimize that off your screen so you have an unobstructed view. And you'll also notice that you're on a defaulted mute setting. That's due to the number of individuals on the GoToWebinar system. So we do encourage and welcome participation and questions, and to do that, you can type those in on the Questions tab on your toolbar. Those will go directly to me, and throughout the session and as time permits, I will forward those questions and moderate those questions with Mike, our presenter, and get those answered. If we do run out of time, we will follow up with you after the webinar. And we also will be recording this, both the slides and the audio, and we'll be posting it on the fiatech.org website under webinars in the archives later this week or early next week. So with that, I want to go ahead and thank and introduce Michael Sprague, who's the Director of E-Business Development at Thomas Industrial Network. Mike has been at the Thomas Industrial Network for over 3 years in a business development and sales capacity. He works with manufacturers to create and leverage their digital product data to drive results across all their sales channels. He has a broad experience in procurement systems, e-business, global construction sales, and product data solutions. Before joining Thomas Industrial, Mike worked at the Swagelok Company as their e-business business development manager for over 10 years. He has an MBA in international business from the Ohio State University and a bachelor's degree in engineering from Purdue University. So Mike, thank you so much for joining us, especially this week. I know a lot of folks are on vacation, yourself included, so really appreciate you making the time to talk to our members, and let's go ahead and turn it over to you and get started.
Thanks, Nicole. And again, thanks everybody for spending your morning with us here, talking about something that's near and dear to the hearts of us at Thomas, which is about data-centric information. Basically, when Nicole and I first met, we started talking about what Thomas does and what Thomas has and what Fiatech is trying to accomplish for its members. And we really hit it off. We thought there was a really good match. So just this year, we joined Fiatech, and that's our opportunity to talk to you today about what we do. So the concepts here is really sharing of product data, commodity product data that's used in the construction industry. So that's what my talk is going to be about today. So kind of as a background, just like really what's our relationship about, I've got some slides from Reg Hunter from Fiatech, kind of to put the context of what we're talking about in their materials management overview. So it kind of gives you some positioning for what we're talking about. And then I'll delve a little bit into who Thomas is and why we are kind of positioned to do this content creation process. And then the specifics of our first engagement, which was a Valve cross-reference catalog, which we've done a prototype and actually have that online. I'm going to be demoing that for you guys today. And the last thing is, this is just a starting point. It's really what we see as the roadmap for commodity cataloging. Okay? So kind of where the relationship is, Fiatech is really a members-driven organization. You guys are members, obviously know that, but really trying to bring technology and innovation to capital projects. And that fit with ThomasNet is not only are we a member, but we have a content management platform, software as a service, and we take and create content for products from specific manufacturers into a digital format. We also work with them on their products for dimensional data. So we can take both their cataloging information and their dimensional data, and then we can share that or make that interoperable across systems. So if there's a problem with construction projects so that they need manufacturing specific product data, we can deliver that through our platform. And that's kind of how this relationship and what we're trying to achieve. It's a lot of synergies going on here. So as I mentioned, I've stolen a couple of slides from the Material Management Group and Reg Hunter, who's on the call here, I believe, today. Thank you very much. But what this slide basically talks to is all of the different functions that are going on in all of the different areas. And really, at the end of the day, the conduit, the grease between the skids, is the product data. And that's kind of what ThomasNet has done for over 100 years, is work with manufacturers to get product data. And that's kind of what our platform, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, Navigator, really facilitates. So to make this material management architecture work, there's a whole bunch of individual projects that Fiatech is working on and has worked on. And this, again, is some of the slides. So lots of different, tracking and supply chain projects. And number 4 is really what we're working with. We're helping the Fiatech community kind of define what the bounds are, what the requirements are, and help to come up with the solution for this commodity management problem that exists within the construction industry. And again, as this thing indicated, really the valve catalog project has already been launched, and we see some future application for other commodities, whether they be, fittings or pumps or motors or whatever. The same processes, the same tool sets can be brought to bear on those problems as well. So that's kind of the context of where the Thomas solution. So any of you guys who've been around a while, especially in the Americas, know the Thomas Register. And this has been our parent company for basically over 100 years. We've been providing data about manufacturers. Now in the print days, this was who were they, what did they make kind of stuff, but really not at the SKU or the product attribute level. So that's kind of, we did this directory, and it was not only, it was widely shared before the internet, if you will. But that didn't stay forever, obviously. In the mid-90s, as the internet started to surge, we revamped our strategy. So it wasn't just a directory or even an online directory. We're actually able to provide content solutions, whether they be hosting or catalogs or CAD or drawings, and then the ability to take that product data for the manufacturer and share it. So in our case with Fiatech here in this commodity catalog, it's the ability to take manufacturing data and share it other places so that the manufacturer can be considered for specifications. And that's part of our platform. And we've got literally thousands of manufacturers leveraging this service that we provide. Very logical extension of our business. We say that Thomas is in the business of connecting buyers and suppliers, and we're still in that business. Now we're just using data instead of print magazines or print books. So kind of visually, if you will, how this kind of works is Thomas Industrial Network brings the products, the suppliers, the geometries, the specifications, and we're working, again, on the specifications outside of our borders with organizations like PIP and Fiatech, and to define so that this kind of content can be overlaid so that the procurement engineers and other member organizations can leverage that. But the goal is really a unified service platform so that the content in the context that it needs to be delivered can solve the problems of the capital projects markets, if you will. Okay? Trying to add value is what we're trying to do on this whole thing. Okay? So Navigator. Navigator is our technology. It's something we've invested a lot of money internally on, but it's really a database and then a series of application overlays that drive different sets of functionalities. So we take the product content that the manufacturers typically have, and we put it into an online database, a searchable, sortable, and you'll see that when we start showing the demonstration here today. A lot of products have attributes, rich attributes, and they can be defined as the manufacturer or to industry standards. What we're going to do as we build out these catalogs is work with the manufacturer and the member organization to create a set of standards that can be searched across manufacturers. And this is really the key. So if you're looking for a certain valve, for instance, you can look for the same attributes across multiple manufacturers to quickly get to a value proposition of which is reduced time. If you have to go to the individual manufacturer sites independently and look through all of their literature, what you have is a huge time effort to then verify that the product that you're sourcing is made and conforms to a specification. Our tool set will allow you to search across multiple manufacturers for that same product. So that's kind of the core of what we're going to be doing here with the Fiatech. We also have configurator technology, however. The configurator basically is for manufacturers' products who are literally hundreds of millions or billions of combinations because of all the different sizes and geometries and materials, colors of handles, etc. You can get this. And we have a technology of Navigator that allows you to build up a part number, a smart part number based on a series of attributes. Once you get to the products, though, what the thing, and this is that compare feature I was talking about, and that's going to allow you to compare within our tool the products that you're looking for across manufacturer. And once you find that part, the manufacturer can hang all of their related documents that relate to that product right there. So now, cut sheets, drawings, any kind of attributes, MSDS sheets, installation instructions, anything that the manufacturer has available, detailed information about that product, they can attach to the product so that it's available. So now, again, you don't have to go through lots of paper literature or catalogs to find that. It's all in one place. And the best part about this, it's all being maintained by the manufacturer so that you know that the data you're looking at is current and is the most accurate that the manufacturer has available. We have other modules like replacement parts. Lots of times products are repaired, not replaced. And we have modules that allow you to drill into the individual component pieces and figure out which part you need. So that's a nice feature for certain parts. We also have drawing features, CAD models and sales drawings. The difference that we do with our models from what a manufacturer would typically have available is the Navigator just maintains the geometry, the parametric model, and then data tables. So these models are actually spun up or created real time. What does that mean? That means by maintaining the geometry, you get all the table data maintained in the catalog, as well as all the models and all the drawings being maintained. So from a single source of data, we're able to create literally thousands or millions of drawings on the fly with Navigator. And then other features that are available to the manufacturer would be like e-commerce and other things. We continue to add to our capabilities. But this at the core is what Thomas does as a business, and what you're seeing from a Fiatech perspective is the benefit of leveraging the Navigator technology with the manufacturers to share and compare product data. That's kind of the kernel of what we do. So when we start talking about what things we've seen in the marketplace, really to research and to validate that supplier data is a humongous issue. And it takes a lot of time. We've been working with some of the EPCs, and they tell us that 2 to 4 weeks of time could be wasted just comparing for a certain valve specification to get all of the valve data and then to compare it side by side. So we've heard that that's a huge, huge issue. Across suppliers, now you have to compare things like bore and inside diameter. What we do by normalizing the data into a standard allows you to do that seamlessly in consistent terms. So I think that's a thing that we've heard as well. If you don't get the data, from their site or their online, you're having to rekey this data into your own systems, or you're having to key it into some kind of procurement system, which there's a lot of opportunity for error. Thomas's digital delivery solutions can provide that data, again, electronically directly from the manufacturer. So, and then any data set that you're using that you find either online or in a print catalog, what's the date on the print? Was it certified by the manufacturer? The data sets that we're going to be providing are going to be manufacturer certified, so that you know that you're working with the best data set that they have. And again, from what I've seen in the marketplace, most manufacturers do not have a consistent, holistic approach to providing dimensional data. Our solution does that, and I'll show you that here in a slide or two. And then once you build it and once you create that data and you get it into your own systems or your comparison models, right, who's maintaining that? And the answer at this point, if you loaded it, you probably are. Our solution is going to allow the manufacturers to do all the maintenance, and then for you as consumers of the data to actually just benefit from that feature. Obviously, it's in their best interest to create the data and then to maintain the data. They're obviously trying to affect specifications. So what do we see as really the opportunity? Interoperable, data schemes and standards. That's, again, kind of what we do. Once built by the manufacturer, leverage multiple places. So this is when we start talking to the manufacturers about why they need to do this. It's really for them to be the owner of their data sets, but yet then for them to be able to share it with as many of their channel partners, whether it be a distributor or an engineering firm or an application like an Intergraph or Fiatech as an organization. Lots of different places that they can leverage their content. The timelines, because we're now cutting out all that comparison and data research phase, we feel we can really help shorten construction implementation times through the use of good, rich commodity data, which obviously then lowers the cost of implementation. And now you're working on your, from beginning to end with a common set of consistent product data. So again, you're not having to go back and interchange data from different applications or different pieces of your construction timeline, your materials management timeline. It's all coming from a single data source. And again, at the end of the day, the manufacturer's maintaining that. So that's kind of the value propositions and the opportunities by having digital product data. So as a pilot, we were working with Fiatech, and they had identified a project a few years back to create a global valve cross-reference catalog, right? And we had a kickoff meeting in Houston here a few weeks back, and it was actually hosted at SMB. So that was a great meeting. And basically invited a lot of different folks to that meeting and talked about what the value propositions, and everyone wanted to know, well, what's in it for me? And depending on who you are, there's a lot of different value propositions. But this is, again, everybody, whether you're a contractor, cutting off implementation time, cutting down the research, whether you're an owner-operator, how much time and how much money, cycle time, that they're actually having to spend on this, whether you're a distributor. Lots of times that, because the distributors are providing all the products, the contractors go back to them for the product data, so they then have to go back to the manufacturers and they have to sometimes collate that data. A lot of time spent on the distributors. Okay, and the cross-referencing from manufacturer A to manufacturer B, this is really a great tool that's going to allow them to look up the or equal quote process. And at the end of the day, the manufacturers largely have a lot of data, and we're going to help them get that into a digital format. And it makes it easier for the manufacturers to be found and to be compared and selected. Now, we've had some pushback from the manufacturers about being reduced to just, it's only about the price. And some of the thoughts we've had and we've talked to them about is really the standards base for comparison is literally, half a dozen attributes. They still have the opportunity to articulate what differences their products have above and beyond the fact that they're a half-inch stainless steel, check valve or something. It's going to give them the opportunity to talk about their products, their testing, their certifications, other things that are about their valve other than just price. That's been one of the biggest pushbacks I've had from some of the actual manufacturers. So what we did was, for this catalog, and I'll show you this here in a second, we've created some standards-based product database, and we then leveraged the PIP standards. So PIP had already done a great job creating the standards for the valves, the gate globe, check valves. And what we've done is we've taken a specific set of data from Smith valves, we've mapped them to the PIP standards, and then put them into a Navigator database. And then that compare feature is automatically built in. And this is what I'm going to show you right now. So it's a pretty slick thing. We not only support the catalogs, we support all the dimensional derivatives as well. So once you have data in our system, we can roll up for you Crowley, BIM data, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, and even some of the smart data sets like for Intergraph. So it all comes from Navigator, and really we see these different formats as just an output. It's not a catalog, it's dimensional data, and the format is CAD, sales drawings. We can do that from within CAD. So imagine now you're in a Fiatech catalog environment, you're searching by product specifications, selecting down to several valves that you can compare, and then when you make your selection, you can download and insert the actual dimensional representation of that product. That's what we see as the process flow here. And many more formats as requested. Let me drop to a browser here and actually show you kind of the functionality that we've built up for our Navigator. Now, again, we did this for Smith Valve, and this is just, again, a mock-up site with Smith Valve data. So the concept here is the manufacturer can leverage this data for their own online presence. We can also syndicate that data, and let me show you the same data in the context of a Fiatech site. So now we can share the data from the manufacturer with another outlet, which in this case is the Fiatech portal. Now, just because the manufacturer has it on his site doesn't mean it has to come over in total or completely or whatever. There's lots of controls on the data. So the manufacturer can share limited data. When you log into the site at Fiatech, you can see, say maybe you have an approved manufacturer list. We can help control the access to the data, both from the manufacturer side as well as the user side. So just because it's on this site doesn't necessarily mean that it's in front of your face. It's not, it's on your browser. If you have a list of specified or selected suppliers, we can, through access controls, logins, passwords, we can reduce the amount of data that you're seeing to the list of suppliers that you would like to see. So it's not a free-for-all, wide-open space. Okay. Similarly, we can add additional, if there are product manufacturers that you're missing, we can add additional manufacturers to this space. So again, the first pass on this is going to be just, process valves. So how the tool works is there's all kinds of, sorting, searching kind of things, Boolean. There's drill down type processes. So if I want to drill down into, again, gate valves, visually as well as, textually, we can drill down into products and see how the application works, right? So images, lots of calls to action here to print, eMark, to save, to save those products. And then attributes. All of these attributes can be sorted or stacked up however you feel. So if there's more than a page or two, you can then group them, and you can see I did by size. You can basically pick several of them and compare these half-inch valves. And what we end up doing is putting together a side-by-side comparison. So you can see everything that's across here, the half-inch is the same, but what's different is marked this way. Different CV or flow, different class valve, different, different standards from a pit valve number. So that's one way to actually sort. But similarly, as I showed you before, maybe you went in knowing a PIP standard that you were designing to, and we could just pop that PIP standard in there. And again, this could be a PIP standard. This could be lots of different industry standards depending on what specific products do you want, a butt or a socket weld. And then we're quickly down into all of the products that meet that standard. And I was looking again for the half-inch product. Now again, the best part about it, this is the same exact data as I was telling you that is running and driving the manufacturer's content. So he is very vested in keeping this content current. So all of the data that they have is available about the product. And we can add this, this isn't necessarily exhaustive right now, but we can add in all of the different attributes and or links to other source material that the manufacturer may have, like installation diagrams, pictures, videos, whatever the manufacturer may have available. So that's another way to get down to an individual product ID quickly using a PIP spec at that point. Now, this number is related to the manufacturer, but there's no reason that this could not also be an internal number that a Fiatech member would use or an engineering firm would use. So we can map data from the individual manufacturers to a product or a source code that's unique to you, so that in sorting or sourcing, you can use your own, when you kick in a key number, this could be your number here, not necessarily the manufacturer number. So again, these are all features of Navigator. It's a very robust tool again, thousands of people, manufacturers using it. So what we really need to do is understand the use cases of the Fiatech members and how it can be brought to bear to solve those problems. Now I said that we also do CAD, so we spun up some CAD files here, I believe on the check valve side, just to show you how that technology works. And they're under these Y pattern piston valves. And once I get down into an individual product, and again I could have sourced this multiple different ways, part numbers, specs, you can see that we've loaded the models in 2D and 3D. So by selecting a 3D model, what's happening, and you see the word application here, this is because it's not going and getting a static file off the server. It's actually getting the dimensions, and then it's rendering the model. So I don't have CAD on my computer. This is being run in a browser, and I can evaluate the product from different sides, whatever you want to do, see the geometry through the inside, whatever you want to do, and then I can pull whatever format I want that file downloaded into. So I've been able to do a cataloging process, which is sorting, searching, comparing, getting to an individual product and saying, this is the product I need, and now I need it in SolidWorks, or I want a step or a stat file, whatever, IGES, etc. Okay. Similarly, not all people who need to know dimensions actually need to know or have CAD. So we also have another application that, again, we're going to trap, when the users get data, we're going to trap some tracking information. So once they complete that form one time, it goes as a cookie, and now I can get drawings here. And again, this is a different application, but the same thing. So that same valve I had depicted from a CAD perspective, I now have a drawing, a sales drawing. And these can be as specific or as generic as the manufacturer feels relevant. So we work with them, and they're all branded so that they don't lose the manufacturer's contact and content information. All of the attributes are coming out of the catalogs, so that that same page about this product and all these attributes here are being mapped over and being maintained onto the drawings. So everything, again, if you can see, is data-centric. And that's, I think, the value of what we're trying to see now. The world, the application sets are very data-centric. Okay, so that's kind of the second piece of the functionality. It's not only catalog, but it's CAD. Now, we started this at Valves and had it here, but what we've built out doesn't have to be at the valve level. I mean, we see that this could be a commodity catalog and valves just be one section of it. What we're looking for is to work with the Fiatech members to say, okay, beyond process valves, what other commodity classes are important to you guys, and how can we help you, and which manufacturers and which products do you struggle to compare and quickly analyze which products would meet your needs. Okay? Let's drop back to the PowerPoints now. Kind of go through this. So again, thank you, Fiatech. This is not my slide, but it's the material management slide. And what I just showed you was really our valve selection tool, DataCentric tool that we're launching this quarter. And what we hope to do then is really to work with the Fiatech members to really talk about, what kind of improvements are possible if we could bring a tool set like this to bear for your applications. What kind of information, what kind of products, what kind of suppliers do you need? Again, I think I've shown you that the Navigator platform is very flexible, very capable, but what we need to do is to set it up to build the use cases for your individual as well as collective needs. So again, nothing that we're going to do here of our own. This isn't a cookie cutter standard out-of-the-box solution. We really see ourselves as a consultative process with the Fiatech members, really to identify the products and the suppliers of those. Now, we don't have to do everything with a supplier. We really can limit it to their top product sales. So if it's an 80-20 kind of perspective, let's solve the problems, the products that they sell the most of. Let's solve your problems for those, and then let's work on the fringes for the the make-to-order products or the configure-to-order products, really staying with the standard products at least initially. And then what we need to do is to talk to the manufacturers, and some kind of supplier engagement process, whether it be in conjunction with the distributors or with the Fiatech members or directly from Thomas. What's the best way to go to the manufacturers to explain this program and this process so that we can get their engagement? Because at the end of the day, they hold all the data, and they're going to be the ones on the hook to maintain that data. But by the same token, they're the ones who are trying to influence the specifications and to get the order. So they are keenly positioned to be an integral part of this program. So you have my contact information on the beginning of the slides. And Reg Hunter I work closely with on this from the Fiatech side. And he is the contact at Fiatech if you have any questions about how the Thomas and the Navigator and the catalog program fit within materials management. Reg is in a great position to answer those questions. And in fact, I think Nicole mentioned it as well, we're both going to be down in Houston the first of next month, December 5th through 7th, at the Digital Plant Show. And we're going to be presenting as part of the material management track this whole cataloging process. So at this point, I haven't taken my full hour, obviously, but hopefully I've given you a flavor and a taste of what we're talking about with the GVC catalog specifically, but then commodity cataloging at a larger level. And if there's anybody has any questions, we obviously have some time. I'd like to take them now at this point.
Mike, thank you very much. Right now we don't have any questions. If folks do have anything and would like some clarification, please use the questions tab on your toolbar there, and those will come directly to me, and we can share those with Mike. Can you, Mike, talk a little bit about what will be covered at Digital Plant?
What we're going to cover at Digital Plant is probably a lot of the same concepts here, but really what we're going to do is go into much more detail, talk about how we do this, and what kind of manufacturers we work with, and what are the attributes that they have. It's really trying to get the word out about this program and this process, but we're not going to try to get beyond what our core capabilities are, which is the commodity cataloging. That's a really good niche for us right now, and it also, we can bring a lot of value, not only from the catalog side, Nicole, but from the dimensional data side. Okay,
great. Well, I think maybe everyone's ready to move on to vacation because we don't have any questions right now. I do want to remind everyone that we are recording this, and we'll be putting a copy of both the slides and the audio up on our fiatech.org website under events, under webinar archive. We do have a couple of questions actually coming in as I continue to speak here, Mike. So can you provide your vision on how documents will be turned over to owners?
Sure, sure. So one of the processes, one of the slides that we talked about here, I can speak back to my slide deck, referred to documents online. And that's a really a huge, huge opportunity and area to deal with. So there's a couple different ways we can do this, and again, this is a great use case. If there is a project-specific Navigator built out, you have a specific owner-operator with a select set of EPCs working on a project, we could build an instance of Navigator that would contain product data used for that specific engagement. Okay, so that's one opportunity, right? It would be a project-specific set of data. Now, if it's data that's related to the product in general, that could be hosted on the generic or the standard set of Navigator. So it really depends if we're talking about, tagged items with heat codes and lot codes. Those kinds of things would be related more to a specific project, whereas the generic attribute, specification level data could be related to the generic level. So again, this is a use case issue for us, but the capabilities, the technology supports both. And the manufacturer creating that content could load that content directly into Navigator so that the users could not only have it for the project, but then historically, as it gets turned over to the owner-operator going forward, they would have a record of all of that data digitally and online.
Oh, okay. Well, now some more questions are definitely coming in. So let's see. Someone said they did not see any Bentley Microstation-based drawing formats in the pull-down menu. Is this in your plans to add? So I guess, I mean, not just Bentley, but I guess inclusion of other software.
Correct, correct. Thomas, again, because we don't own or we don't have any alliances or allegiances to any specific platforms, we are willing and able to work with any of the manufacturers. So I'm writing a note as we speak, Bentley Microstation. So again, none of the problems or, you know, we've solved them working with the different manufacturers. So if that's an industry issue or opportunity, absolutely we'd be interested in working with Bentley Microstation.
Let's see, is there a unique identification code for each product that we could embed into a 3D model during construction and allow lookup later on?
Yeah, that's back to the individual use case, which would be a project-specific use case. And yes, what we can do is have multiple people interacting with the data set. So the manufacturer calls it, you know, product A, and it's got a part number. But then for the specific instance that you've added, you could load a tag ID or an RFID so that, yes, you can correlate the real world, what's been built, what's in the drawings, back to a data set. Documents online, again, I think is a huge next step for us with that, but I think what we're going to really want to do is work with the Fiatech organization and its members to really define that tightly so that we can figure out how the best way to take it forward. Having a digital archive of a project, I think, would be a huge value proposition.
Right, and moving forward, we certainly, internally within Fiatech, have had discussions about how this could tie back to the ISO 15926 model as well, and include that data in that to integrate this as well.
Absolutely, Nicole. I think, you know, we tried initially with the PIP, but ISO 15926 is another standard that we could look to code the products if that's going to be the preferred method of delivering, you know, consistent normalized data. You know, we don't have any issue with that. Historically, we've worked with whatever the manufacturers categorized it, but I think that then really puts them in a bunch of silos, where I think this approach that we're talking about here makes it easier for the consumers, the customers of the products, as well as the data to look in a consistent fashion.
Okay, thanks. How difficult would it be to migrate to data-centric information, and what is the process?
From a manufacturer's perspective, it's really a service that we provide. So we work with them. You know, some of these guys, I mean, I make a joke about phone tablets. I've seen lots of really bad data formats, but we work with the manufacturers to work, if they have their data, it's typically in some form of PDFs, spreadsheets, databases, extracts from their ERP system, and we pull that data together to populate Navigator. So we start with whatever they have and push it in. And that's typically an engineering service that we provide. If this data is in a really good normalized format already, the process of moving to Navigator is very quick. We did that whole Smith demo in just a matter of a couple weeks, pulling data from their online PDFs, and we just had a couple checkpoints with their director of engineering to make sure that we were on track, that we were interpreting what they had, you know, properly. So pretty straightforward. Again, if it's really cryptic and whatever, then obviously the process, we actually have on-site data people that go out and work with the manufacturers to help extract and to pull the different sources together. So, but it's a service, and it's really going to be based on how good the data is at the manufacturer.
Thank you. Let's see. Can you incorporate protected notes on products that are associated with a specific owner and EPC, such as cost, reliability, availability, performance, etc.?
Sure. So there's a couple things that you said there, Nicole, or whoever has the question mentioned. So specific hard IDs or information related specifically to maybe an owner company. This would be where when the owner company logged in, we would know that it's them, and the data set and or attributes of that data could be specific to that owner. Okay, so maybe say I have 100 products for sale, but 20 of them are only for a certain owner. So when the owner logs in with his credentials, they see 100. When the generic world logs in, they only see 80. So we can first of all vary the visibility of the products, to be larger or smaller data sets, right? And then the second thing is within the data sets, we can show different characteristics based on the user, so that the owner-operator is truly getting a custom catalog look. Now, you said some things about inventory and those things. We consider those more real-time transactions, where Navigator would be connected to a back-end system at the manufacturer. So if I'm holding inventory in reserve for owner-operator number A or whatever, we can hit their back-end inventory management system and say, owner A is asking, do I have any of these in stock? And the answer is yes, 10. So owner A would see 10 available. That could be a feature that could be available for all of the users of Navigator, or it could be just limited to the functionality of owner A login. Does that make sense? Really flexible. Really what we need to understand is the root of your questions. What use cases are you kind of defining?
Great. Is it possible to monitor usage level on preferred components for a project?
Yeah, as you saw from when I was into the publisher, anytime I try to get any data here, you're going to get user tracking, right? So you're going to get this, that Mike Sprague at some place interacted with this valve. We have similar tracking capabilities on our catalogs. So yes, we can then roll back up, if you will, to whoever the target is, whether it be the manufacturer in this case, Fiatech if it's running off the Fiatech site. Owner-operators, say maybe an owner-operator is trying to monitor that the EPCs are using the tools and are using the valves within the tools. Absolutely, we can roll those reports up for the owner-operator's consumption. So again, reporting is a feature that's built into Navigator. It's just really understanding how you want to be reporting on us.
Okay, thank you. This next question, I guess I'll put it out there, and then I might add some to it. It says, what if manufacturers do not buy into this? Will they be excluded from the material selection process?
Well, that's really our question, not really for Thomas, but really for the Fiatech members using it. The tool has to have enough content to add value, but at the end of the day, some manufacturers may not be willing to play with this, and whatever. We're hoping to leverage the value of the tool generically, but then also the distributors and the EPCs and owner-operators participation on the project to really let the manufacturers understand the value that they're bringing and to help them be selected. So if an EPC said, and I've seen this from other systems, that this is the way you're going to, be part of this bid package, they could make it, if you're not in the tool, you don't get to participate. But I've seen others that, it's a nice to have, not a required. And again, that's not for Thomas to drive. It's really more the community, the Fiatech community, to define that.
Right, and I guess just to add a little historical perspective for those of you that are Fiatech members or new members or not members and thinking about joining, probably 5-6 years ago, this project, the GVCC, originated from primarily some Fiatech members that are EPCs and contractors that really wanted to look at ways of streamlining the way that valves were procured and put it in a digital format. So Fiatech partnered with the Process Industry Practices Group, PIP, which is one of our sister organizations at the University of Texas, and we worked with other bodies and that community of members to create schemas for the valves, and that was all in an Excel spreadsheet format, which is available to the sponsors, Fiatech sponsors of that project. And what we found when we came across Thomas Industrial Network is the web interface that was already existed. So this has been relatively recent. I guess Mike and I have been talking for a couple of years now. But really are kind of rejuvenating that project now and saying, I guess, a few things. One, what's the current interest level now? At the time, there seemed to be a lot of contractors who felt a lot of time was wasted in their shops looking at manual print catalogs and the like, and getting this in a digital format would be great. Also, we started with Val, but the intent when this, like I said, project launched in the early days was really to expand it to other equipment types as well. And right now with Fiatech and Reg Hunter as the project manager, we're looking at ways to engage our members, kind of calibrate who's interested, where the interest level lies, where we would want to expand it to, and the possibility of certainly partnering here with Thomas in providing the tool by which the information would then be available. So it's an ongoing project, and it's something that we're reaching out to industry. We're, like I said, speaking at Digital Plant, and probably holding some workshops in Houston, but we'd like to hear back from all of you and our members. It was also presented at the Boulder member meeting for Fiatech. In what does the industry need and what does the industry want, and then working with the manufacturers and Thomas to make that possible. So I want to be clear. I guess it's not to close anyone out. It's really to streamline these operations, and there seem to have been, and assume the same holds true, quite a bit of waste and inefficiencies in the current process. So this was Fiatech, when we look at the entire life cycle of a capital project, are always looking for kind of a low-hanging fruit and big win opportunities, and this certainly was identified at one time as a big opportunity, and we believe that's still the case, but really are looking for feedback from all of you.
Thanks, Nicole.
I think that's it. I think we have, unless anyone has any other questions, by all means, Mike has the contact information he gave out. Reg Hunter is hunter@fiatech.org, and I guess it's msprague@thomasnet.com. Once again, thank you very much, Mike, for doing this on your Thanksgiving holiday, and thanks to all of you for joining us on your Thanksgiving holiday. And we will get a recording of this up on the Fiatech website just as soon as possible. And I hope everyone has a great holiday. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.